Djokovic acknowledges his trick against Carlos Alcaraz. The Balkan tennis player has admitted that he took advantage of the Spaniard's doubts to turn the quarterfinal match of the Australian Open in his favour. Carlos Alcaraz knew from the start of this first Grand Slam of the season that Novak Djokovic could cross his path and once again block his way, as happened in the Paris 2024 Olympics. And, ultimately, this destiny was fulfilled, and the Serbian has left him without a chance to fight for that crown still missing from his trophy cabinet. But what frustrated the Spaniard the most were the methods the Balkan used to win. After Alcaraz took the first set, Noel gave signs of a possible withdrawal. However, given the final result, many believe it was just another strategy from Djokovic, something he has done many times before. Alcaraz himself confessed that the plan worked perfectly for his opponent. "I think someone who is thinking about retiring in the second set wouldn't have played the way he did. I won't go into details, but I don't believe he was going to retire. Honestly, I felt I was controlling the match, but I let him get back into it, and that was my biggest mistake. I should have played a bit better in the second set, pushing him to the limit." After these statements, the Serbian did not hesitate to respond with the same honesty and without holding back. "I tried to use it to my advantage, taking the initiative in the exchanges and taking advantage of his doubts. I've also been in situations where my opponent had problems but kept playing, and as the match progresses, they start feeling better. That's when you begin to panic. I understand the feeling. I didn't feel well in the second set, but I went for my shots, being more aggressive. I felt better as the match went on, especially by the end of the second set. I felt it wasn't too restrictive an injury. To be honest, it felt normal. I'm sorry for him. I understand it's not comfortable playing against someone when you don't know if they'll retire or not. I feel like he was focusing more on me than himself. I got the break, the set, and he started doubting from the baseline, making a few more errors while I started playing more freely. Now, to fight for another major and what would be the 100th title of his career, Djokovic will have to overcome the world number 2. I'm super proud to have achieved this win in 4 sets. Carlos brings a lot of energy and intensity to the court. Now I face Zverev, someone in great form, and he's fighting for his first Grand Slam. He's a very dangerous opponent on this surface. It's good to have a day in between. I'll do everything I can to recover with my team. Honestly, I'm concerned about these physical problems. I hope to be ready for 5 sets." Carlos Alcaraz receives a harsh warning from a former tennis player. For some, Carlos Alcaraz is not yet at Djokovic's level. The Australian Open bids farewell to one of its big favourites after an exciting duel between Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz. Despite facing some physical discomfort, Noel relied on his experience to secure victory, leaving the Spaniard out of the tournament that marks the start of the Grand Slam season. This match will be a valuable lesson for the world number 3, as Djokovic used his vast experience to read the game perfectly, detect Alcaraz's insecurities, and even challenge him mentally to ensure victory. A former tennis player has a warning for Alcaraz: if he wants to continue making history, he must learn from these challenges. Carlos Alcaraz needs to play better tennis. Jim Courier, a former tennis player and 4-time Grand Slam champion, called this match a preview of the final. His message is clear: Carlos Alcaraz must raise his level of play if he aspires to become a tennis legend. I'd like to see more solidity in Alcaraz. He has the ability to surprise us with the unexpected, but adding a bit more structure against any rival will make him more consistent, said the American, stressing that the Spaniard still has work to do to dominate the big names on the circuit. I'd say Alcaraz's best day is on par with anyone's best day, but his worst level is still a step below Novak and Sinner. That's what he needs to improve. He can't play average tennis and beat Novak, warned the former world number 1 to Carlos. However, he is confident that this is something that comes with experience, and the world number 3, at just 21 years old, still has plenty of time to leave his mark on tennis. Alcaraz talks about the match against Djokovic. Alcaraz himself acknowledged his mistakes and admitted that failing to take advantage of the moment when Djokovic seemed most vulnerable allowed the Serbian to take control of the match. Honestly, I felt I was in control, but I let him get back into the game. That was my biggest mistake. After that, he pushed me to the limit, and I couldn't do anything. I should have played better in the second set to put him against the ropes, but I didn't, he explained in the press conference after the match. Calmer after his defeat, the player from El Palmar reflected on his farewell to the Australian Open. I fought until the end, but it wasn't meant to be. Congratulations, Djokovic, on winning this great battle yesterday. See you next year, Melbourne. Thank you for the support, Alcaraz shared on his social media. Carlos Alcaraz will have one last chance at the Australian Open. The defeat against Novak Djokovic has left Carlos Alcaraz with one last shot at achieving the Grand Slam and becoming the youngest in history to do so, for which he will have to win the Australian Open in 2026. The Australian Open is nearing its conclusion, with only the semi-finals and the grand final remaining to define this first major of the year. For now, the event has been marked by Novak Djokovic's victory in the quarterfinals against Carlos Alcaraz. This match marked the end of the Spaniard's journey in the tournament, leaving him once again unable to compete for the last major title he lacks. Despite having 4 Grand Slams, he is yet to make his debut in Melbourne. This has prevented him from achieving a milestone, becoming the youngest player in history to complete the Grand Slam. At just 21 years and a half, 21 years and 266 days, Carlitos could have certified his achievement this season and broken the record for precocity. However, it wasn't to be. Still, he has one last chance, as the record holder is Don Budge, who achieved it in 1938 at 22 years and 363 days. If Alcaraz wins within the next 12 months, it will be enough to make history. He missed his first chance, but he can try again, knowing this is his last shot. Where Alcaraz stands out is among the greatest legends of the ATP. On one hand, Rafa Nadal achieved it in 2009 at 24 years and 102 days, while Novak Djokovic did so in 2016 at 29 years old, and Roger Federer in 2009 at 28. All of them were much older than Alcaraz is now, giving him time to surpass them, though he only has one chance to make history. Carlitos Roadmap. After finishing his participation in Melbourne, Carlos will take a short break before returning to competition at the ATP 500 in Rotterdam, held in the Dutch city from February 3 to 9. He will then travel to Doha from February 17 to 23. But it will be in March when the level truly rises, with the Masters 1000 tournaments in Indian Wells and Miami. He will also defend many points, especially in the first one, where he won his only title at this level in 2024. Then, in April, it will be time for the clay court season, his strong suit. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, because here at Tennis Zone, we are dedicated to offering the best content for the best audience. We provide in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and comprehensive coverage of everything related to the world of tennis. Join our community and be part of the excitement of the tournaments with us. Additionally, at Tennis Zone, we strive to deliver up-to-date, high-quality content about players, tournaments, strategies, and the most relevant events in the tennis world. Queen's prepares for the biggest tournament in its history, with Alcaraz leading the way. The Queen's Tournament, a prelude to Wimbledon, has signed a partnership with HSBC Bank to develop the biggest championship in its history this year. For the first time since 1973, the London tournament will host a women's edition, which will take place the week before the start of the men's championship. The men's event has already announced some of its top stars, including Spain's Carlos Alcaraz, world number 3 and 2023 champion, Jack Draper, the top-ranked Brit, Ben Shelton, a semi-finalist at both the US Open and the Australian Open, and Holger Rune. Both tournaments, men's and women's, will hold ATP/WTA 500 status, making them the third most important category after the Grand Slams and the Masters 1000. The women's tournament will be played from June 7 to 15, and the men's from June 15 to 22. The biggest challenge for the organizers is ensuring that the grass courts endure 2 weeks of use without excessive wear. This is managed at Wimbledon, thanks to the availability of 19 competition courts and several practice courts, while Queen's, being a much smaller club, only has 3 courts with stands, along with a few additional ones. The agreement with HSBC is set to be the most significant in the tournament's history, which in recent years has had other main sponsors such as Stella Artois Beer, Aegon Insurance, Fever Tree Beverages, and, from 2021 to 2024, Cinch, a car rental company. The Queen's Men's Tournament was named the best ATP 500 event on the circuit for the 3rd consecutive year. The HSBC deal, which previously sponsored Tim Henman and is now a partner of Emma Raducanu, will last for 4 years.